Have you ever wondered how to mine brilliant takeaways in less time or take away important information when it feels overwhelming or about something that you are not familiar? During these few slides, we're going to be looking at mindful drivers that can help you learn more, take away more, and apply more in far less time, simply by using brain equipment you may have not been familiar with. Anytime, tweet questions or suggestions to the hashtag The Rewired Group during the selection or during our session or even after, and we'll be happy to communicate with you. Tom Hansen said most meetings suck, and for very good reason. When one person delivers facts, tells, or simply talks, everybody else tends to daydream. It's how the mind works. To get it mindfully is to apply it. To hear a talk or delivery is far from applying or understanding new facts. To learn new information mindfully is to try it out, tweak it, and make it fit your situation or what you hope to do in future. You can do it in many ways, using many talents we'll discuss to customize these new facts and make them fit. Dendrite brain cells use the outside world and take shape or grow based on what you do. To act is to literally create new neuron pathways in your brain and toward your new target. If retention is lost in lectures, and we said it was, how could you discover genius then during, say, a talk, which we all get stuck in? How can you use your talents during a boring talk to learn more in less time? Why not pair share and come up with ideas that support mindfulness? Now, we're defining mindful here as an awareness of your thoughts and feelings in your present situation. To be mindful, then, is to make choices that grow you and prosper others at the same time. So you could draw an application in your notes, for example, and that engages things like your spatial intelligence and allows you to retain and use more. Or you could pose a question to yourself or a group in the margin related to a specific application of one of those new facts. Or you could jot down specific ways that you'll use a new piece of information within the next day. Do you see how in no situation am I learning to retain everything I hear, but I'm focusing my brain on what I can use and how I will use it? Then follow through and act on that information. What you do and apply is what you will learn in less time. It's how your brain works. To do is to literally reorganize your brain and change its shape and function. The key components of mindful knowing or deep understanding are the mental drivers that we're going to talk about here, 5 in particular. Apply, as we've already said. People retain only 5% of what's heard only. They retain about 90% of what they teach others and apply at the same time they're learning it. Communicate. Tone determines who motivates. It also determines who will bully. The next mental driver is to listen. PowerPoints alone can literally short-circuit brain power. It's to listen with your own active brain and apply as you go, or pause the slide as you can do here and discuss and feedback, question, and make suggestions that will allow you to listen with your brain in mind. Relate. Facts should hook onto something familiar that you already know or do into your reality. Ask two-footed questions that draw from both sides of the brain. A simple way to think about that is to ask across arts and science, or to ask in a way that involves you in the content. A two-footed question would be, how can I use this piece of information on analytic statistics to improve one workplace practice tomorrow? What could you teach another then as you learn yourself? Perhaps you could pair share after the information is presented and together with another person create one mindful practice based on what you're learning at the time. Perhaps you could share the key components of what you just learned with a colleague in another department at work. Now, if you do that, you'll want to use a clearly articulated language that avoids jargon and uses a communication that that person simply enjoys because it's intelligent and it's meaningful to them. C.S. Lewis calls it the simplicity beyond complexity in language. Or you might brainstorm and sketch collaboratively what you're learning in a new way through sketches so that you could improve a workplace problem or build a new innovation using sketches. In all those situations, you use your unique mix of intelligences to add new enthusiasm to those old or broken routines. Here you may wish to pause the slide and follow this link to turn your attention to multiple intelligences and survey yours to see how your intelligences are strong and how some might be weak. You'll see further examples of how to Velcro stick new information onto a piece of your brain that literally is waiting to connect and make longer retention. New discoveries come from the plasticity in your brain, and they show why IQ is not fixed and it grows daily with use. You increase your motivation then by awakening your intelligences as learning tools, and you'll discover what those are in the surveys. There's 8 unique intelligences that may interest you. Each use of another one of those grows dendrite brain cell connections in that domain and thereby raises your non-fixed IQ. So survey your intelligences to see where mindfulness is weak or strong with you. Choose motivation and then figure out using mindful drivers how to sustain that motivation even in challenging times. You come with an amygdala which acts on stored responses such as motivation. But the interesting point here is that you choose motivation, and with it, you choose serotonin. When you act motivatively or motivationally, you increase the brain's chemical for well-being, and that way you fuel more of it. Are you at the helm of your amygdala or the seat of your emotional well-being? An amygdala acts on stored responses such as motivation rather than on boredom by the choice you make. Motivation chooses to fuel your brain with serotonin, and a mindful amygdala is like the sun on your shoulders and the wind in your sails. It fuels successful destinations toward understanding and applying new information. You reboot that motivation by changing and redirecting your focus toward a passion, an interest, a delightful innovation that you hope to build in the future. Motivation, then, is the choice that distances you from boredom. And boredom, remember, is fueled with the dangerous cortisol, toxic chemicals that hold you back and shut down learning. There are brain chemicals of choice, natural drugs of choice that can move you into fear or freedom. So what are they? You fuel serotonin by stoking creativity. You avoid cortisol by sidestepping downers. And you draw on dopamine chemicals for your brain by jolting novelty to invent or to build or design something new. Simply stated, we choose brain parts daily to sink as cynics or swim as lifelong learners with motivation as our daily choice, literally reshaping your brain physiologically as you sleep that night in REM or deep sleep. So when you focus on and apply one fact that you learn from new information through curiosity, other facts will tend to fade because the brain uses a focus and fade force. Activate curiosity as the essential driver to focus and explore on anything further, and your working memory will fade distractions and barriers in response. Curiosity, remember, increases mindfulness as you explore and use information in ways that impact your situation and improves your practices at work, say. Working memory operates as a focus or fade force here. It helps you to sidestep distractions and look away from past miseries or mistakes as you rewire your brain simply through refocusing and acting differently. The operative word here is to act, because action creates a new neuron pathway in your brain toward a new target in your workplace. So when you focus on a key fact from any new information, overwhelming as it may be, focus on that applicable fact, and you apply that fact to something familiar or that you care about or know about, even if it's a broken practice, you have it. The brain draws on what's already known to make sense of what's being learned. Discover what links new information to current interests or concerns you have. Optimize your brain's capability to draw on what's known in order to make sense of what you're learning. When faced with too much information, or when it's presented in a boring way, or with an overwhelming delivery of facts, your brain simply bottlenecks and retains little. The brain is not equipped to multitask or to take in vast amounts of knowledge in traditional ways in brief periods of time. Your key to retention here and deep understanding is to link what's useful, relevant, or interesting to a familiar practice or observation, and then apply that new fact. Two-footed questions can meld your action with your content, and we'll see how in this slide. Use new facts to engage both sides of your brain, and that could be simply by asking a question: what if you could improve this, whatever it is? Or you could ask also, for instance, how can I improve this workplace situation by applying A, B, or C? Now add something that you're learning at the present time. Or ask, what unique talents or intelligences do I have that maybe I haven't used but I could use at work too? And then fill in the blank. Add an intelligence you possess but rarely use at work. Or finally, you could ask, who would collaborate with me best to unpack this new information and use a few facts from it to build an improved workplace practice? Imagine the rejuvenated organizations should we begin to use these mindful tools to revamp how we're learning and how we're retaining knowledge. Two-footed questions probe the content you're learning on one hand and probe the practical applications that involve you and your intelligences on the other. They tend to integrate right and left brain power and to unpack tough to learn content in doable workplace ways. What mindful question could you ask today that would improve what you'll lead innovatively tomorrow?